This story happened to me back in 2015. There were many abandoned houses on our street, forgotten places kids would sneak into, looking for adventure. But one house stood out. According to local legends, the skull of a 10-year-old girl was hidden in one of its rooms. We were just kids back then. One summer afternoon, 6 of us decided to find out if the legend was true. Only 3 of us actually went inside. The house was a wreck. Collapsed floorboards, crumbling walls, a partially caved-in ceiling. One wall had fallen in and blocked access to a certain room. That room, the one with the skull. As we approached it, an overwhelming fear hit us. No one wanted to be first, so I went. My legs shook. My steps were slow and shaky, every movement hesitant. And then I was inside. The feeling was awful. Fear grew with every second. My whole body trembled. I wanted to scream, run, get out of there. Just forget the legends. But that would have made me look like a coward. So I stayed. I scanned the room. Nothing. I was about to leave when one of my friends reminded me about the space behind the door. It opened inward, so there might be something hidden there. A wave of fear crashed over me again. I slowly began to close the door, and then I saw something white. My heart nearly stopped. What if it really was the skull? I was going to faint right there, but when the door fully shut, I saw what it was. A shoe. Just a dusty, worn-out ballet flat. I almost laughed out loud. All that fear for an old shoe. The others came in, and one of them even kicked it like a soccer ball. But still, something didn't feel right. That heavy feeling of dread came back, stronger than ever. I left the house in a hurry. That night, I was lying in bed. My parents were still awake. Mum kept walking back and forth between the living room and bathroom. I could see the hallway from my bed. Our home had a narrow inner corridor with a larger hall that led to the front door. Eventually, Mum settled down next to my stepdad to watch TV. I was drifting off to sleep when I felt something touch my foot. I bolted upright. It wasn't the cat. She was outside. No other pets. There was no doubt someone had touched me. I froze in fear. I just lay there, terrified. My parents had turned off the TV. The room was silent. After about 20 minutes, I calmed down and started to fall asleep again. But then, it happened. Our house had old wooden floors. If someone walked across them, certain spots would creak loudly. This time, the floor creaked, right next to my bed. The sound hit me like a gunshot. I was fully awake. And then, another creak, and another. I didn't want to know what was making those sounds. I just wanted it to stop. The creaking moved slowly across the room. Then silence. I lay there completely still, drenched in sweat. Breathing felt dangerous. I didn't even dare turn my head toward the cooler side of the pillow. Then, I heard footsteps again. This time, it was my stepdad, going outside to smoke. I felt relief. Real, human footsteps. I listened as he walked down the small corridor, into the main hall, opened the front door, and then, nothing. No clicks, no footsteps, not even a light switch. Just silence. 10 minutes passed, 15, 20, and then more footsteps. They came from the living room, slow, deliberate. They stopped, right at the threshold to the small corridor. Silence again. I held my breath. I didn't blink. I wanted to melt into the bed, disappear, but it knew I was there. It knew I was afraid, and it started walking toward me. The floor moaned and groaned under its weight. Every step was slow, heavy, full of purpose. It entered my room. My heart was about to burst. I tried to will it to stop beating, afraid it might give me away. The pillow and blanket were soaked in sweat and clung to my skin. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. The floor creaked closer and closer, and then everything went white. Screaming, light, a crash, running footsteps. Next thing I remember, I was in the kitchen. Someone gave me valerian drops. I drank them without thinking. Mum sat across from me, asking something, but I couldn't hear her, just a loud ringing in my ears. Then, darkness again. I woke up in the living room, on my mother's lap. She stroked my hair and whispered something over and over. When I could finally speak, I asked what happened. She hesitated. Apparently, I had jumped from bed and slammed into a heavy cabinet. It toppled over and crashed onto the wooden floor. My hands were bruised, my knuckles bleeding. I must have thought the cabinet was whatever came into my room. Years later, I learned the shoe we found belonged to a girl who died in that house. Maybe kicking it disturbed her spirit. Other kids who were there that day had strange things happen too. One heard footsteps. Another said his dog barked all night. One boy's kitchen TV fell, though it had stood on a flat surface. Needless to say, none of us ever went near an abandoned house again. It never happened again. But since that day, I've had a deep fear of darkness and abandoned places. Until I was almost 18, I slept with the lights on and the TV. Even now, if I pass an empty house, I feel like screaming. Some places are best left alone.